I want to talk about a specific phenomena and a resolution that I find effective to this phenomena. And it arises with my partner living together with what have been my things and in my house, and experiencing chronic violations of specific things. So I have a favorite set of pens that dry out if the tips are off, and so I order these pens specially. I found this particular pen is my favorite one to write to, and my partner was leaving the top off repeatedly. And for me, this creates a dilemma. So first of all, I feel bothered by the message, "You don't matter, I don't respect your things." Now, where does that message come up from? It comes from explaining and asking if she'd put the cap on the pen after she's finished using it, and seeing it half a dozen times laying there with the cap off. This message, "You don't matter, I can't be bothered," creates anger, because naturally with a partner, the worst thing to feel is you don't matter, particularly when she matters so much to me. There's a helplessness that I found myself feeling in this situation, which was one of two things. I would go over and put the cap on, and as I would know for certainty, I would know with certainty that if I kept putting the cap on, I would get this message, "You don't matter, I can't be bothered to do that," for the rest of my life. This was dividing on the inside because I wanted to matter. I wanted to get the message that I mattered. I wanted to get the message that my things mattered. And I did not want to feel the helplessness of one of two negative choices. One, I put the cap on for the rest of my life, which is an extra chore done under the duress of the message, "You don't matter." So this causes real hostility because I lose respect, because the message is a little bit childlike, like, "Oh, I can't take care of anything, I'm just a child, you're going to have to take care of things for me." So there's a childlike message. Well, that decreases the sex drive, because now there's an irritant and there's a sense of taking care of a baby as opposed to dealing with a respectful adult partner. That I think when we respect our partner, there's a real sense of attraction that comes with that. And so that wasn't good. On the other hand, doing nothing didn't feel good either, because I did care about the pens, and it irritated me every time I saw the pen with the cap off, and I knew it didn't irritate her. And so it's not like she was going to, learn a lesson or something like that because my pens were drying out. No, that pen would dry out. She'd get another pen or ask me for a pen. That pen would dry out. And it would just go on. Now, I'm a sensitive kind of peacemaking personality type. And so I don't enjoy aggression. I don't enjoy raising my own voice. It's not my nature. I don't enjoy fighting. I enjoy cooperative flow. So, the other way to increase awareness would be to raise my voice or start making demeaning comments. What an idiot. Can't you even put a pen on, a pen cap on? And hope that if I transferred some of my pain, the pain that I was regularly feeling about not mattering, about feeling helpless, about my things not mattering, about feeling invisible, because of course, when we tell someone something repeatedly and they act as if we didn't say anything, then there's an invisibility. If we add to that, this is important, and there's zero change, then there's a message that what's important to you doesn't matter. So that's a painful message. So if I transfer some of that pain onto her, which is usually a good transference to, pain will create consciousness. For example, if I gave her a little poke with something every time I saw a pen, much like training a dog, she would, of course, feel the pain, associate it with the thing, and then rather than me being alone feeling pain and lonely, she would start to shift behavior because she's worried about not feeling shocked or irritated or pain herself. So this is how self-centered change occurs, is you transfer some of the pain as a consequence. But I didn't like that, meaning it's not my nature and it's no fun. It's miserable to deliberately upset your partner simply because they're behaving unconscious, passively aggressive. It's a passive aggression. It's not particularly personal. And so I didn't like that. So, what to do with this situation? And what I found works well is to bring money into the situation. Now, what I like about this is a couple of things. I hate raising my voice. It's not my style at all. And yet the positives of the relationship are significantly higher than the negatives. So I would feel deprived, obviously in a situation where this is going on and, I feel burdened by the entire relationship, then it's easy. You get rid of the relationship and it's like done. But this is one of the best relationships of my life in many areas. And so were I to say, okay, go live somewhere else, I would be hurt by that, meaning I would suffer at least as much. It doesn't matter who would suffer more. We would both suffer. My quality of life would go down if she lived somewhere else. And, I had to drive back and forth, or she did. And her quality of life would go down. And so in that framework, creating more distance and, boundaries of that nature also doesn't work. And so what I like about money is there is a transfer of pain. There is a transfer of consequence. In a capitalist framework, everyone wants or values money to some degree. And so, and my partner including. And so by putting a price on certain things that the trick for me was to put a price that mattered to her. Meaning, so in this case, $1 for the pen off was a price that it's not particularly serious, but it's in the neighborhood of the level of irritation. For 2 seconds, I can put a pen on and make $1. Well, at 2 seconds, that's several $100s an hour. That's in the range of what I make professionally. And it's even more, for her in terms of, that would be an unsustainable rate to spend, $1 every 2 seconds just to not put a cap on. So what I like about it is, first of all, I don't have to raise my voice. I don't have to get critical. I don't have to become a nag. I don't have to feel helpless. I don't have to live alone. And I also don't have to feel invisible. One. Number two, in this case, the $1 for the putting the pen cap on is in the range of, it feels like a game. And so, and because it matters to her, like, this would irritate the hell out of me, is looking across the room, seeing the pens off, saying, hey, can you go put the pen cap on? And like, yeah. And, and she gets around to it or forgets about it again. That's irritating. Saying who's going to make the $1, where we maybe even have a race to see who puts the pen on, that's fun. And so, so that's what I've come up with to resolve this particular imbalance. It's a point where I don't mind. I don't mind joking around it. I don't mind teasing around it. I don't mind making a few dollars a day for the pen caps, that are left off. I don't mind ordering more pens, since, they cost around $1, a piece for those particular pens. And so it feels equitable, and it feels like it also works, meaning the rate of leaving the cap off the pen has gone down 80%. So this is a really useful tool for this particular dynamic, and I share it in, to the extent that it may or may not work with you. It's a possible kind of teen training dynamic. Teenagers that can't be bothered to close the fridge or this, that, the other. To just say, okay, it's $1 every time you do this. It's $20 every time you leave the front door unlocked. Do whatever, but that's coming out of your allowance. There is a little bit of a parental dynamic, which in some ways begins with that certain kind of unconsciousness, because obviously what defines an adult is the ability and willingness to respond, to be responsible. And so we all have the inner ages in ourselves. And so we've introduced money very successfully and playfully in multiple areas. Another thing that irritates me is, when she proceeds to tell me something that's, I'm 99% sure it's not true, but I don't want to argue about it. And so I'll just say, let's bet. And what's important is to bet for an amount that is, one, satisfying to win, and two, is worth the bother. Because if it's not an amount that's worth the bother of looking up, the item, then it becomes, you don't know what you're doing. I'm having to waste my time explaining something that I already know, just so that we're on the same page. And now I'm having to waste my time checking into it, all so that you can, maintain this position. And it's just irritating. However, you throw $10 in there, and first of all, I win 90%, 95% of the bets. And so that's an end of the conversation a lot of the time, in terms of, she'll say, this is the way it is. And I'll say, do you want to bet? Well, because she just lost 9.5 times out of the last 10, this prompts her to adjust her own thinking. If Dane's willing to bet, he's probably right. And that is the case. If I'm willing to bet, there's a 9.5 chance that I'm right. But it's also fun to be wrong. She just won a bet today about the there being fewer bones in an adult human's body than a child's body. And it just seemed so bizarre. A child has more bones than an adult. A child has 100 more bones than an adult. So that was fun to it was fun to lose that bet and learn something. And so what I'm suggesting is that money is a kind of accountability that is instant. Meaning, if someone says, oh, okay, I will never do it again, and they're in the habit of doing that again, there's no accountability. It's actually an irritant. Meaning, just saying I'm never going to do it again after you've said that 3 times is profoundly irritating. So it brings up the helplessness. Like, I have the dissatisfaction of being lied to, knowing I'm being lied to, and being 80% certain that I'm going to be dealing with this again. And I can't address my frustration around that because you've just promised that I'm not going to be dealing with it again. And I know that's not true. And so that whole thing is irritating. So how to give that back to a partner? For me, the answer is simply to say, okay, that's great that I'm never going to be dealing with that again. So let's just agree that if I do, you pay me $20. And if they say, oh, that's too much money, it's like, what? So you just said it's not going to happen again. You're lying already. You're already expecting it's going to happen. If it's not going to happen again, you're not going to pay a penny. But if it does happen again, then this is how much it irritates me. And it irritates me even more that you're willing to glibly say, this is never going to happen again. And then it happens again. And so that has it's created a flip where if I do it accurately, I'm happy either way because I just got $20. Won a bet. So there's the part that likes to win. There's the part that likes money. And there's the part that likes the satisfaction of knowing I'm not the only one being driven crazy by this. Because obviously, if that happens too many times, she's going to be losing money like mad. And so, there's a boundary to it. It takes it out of an endless dynamic where this is just going to go on with no acknowledgement for the impact over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And it creates rapid change. And so, and the fun, and the fun thing is, if it's a particularly sore point, it may be good to set an amount that is where you'd actually enjoy it if they lost, like $100. It's like, you leave the leave the caps off all the pens you want at $100. I would love it. Go ahead. You want to leave that cap off? Go ahead. And in that dynamic, it actually creates a reverse psychology where it's like, no, I don't want to leave the cap off. I'm going to put it on. And of course, that's the whole point, and it's basically taking the self-centeredness that it doesn't affect me. It's not my pen. It doesn't bother me. I don't care about ruining pens and all that. And it turns it into, it's my money, and I care about my money, and I really don't want to do that. That's the whole point, is to get that, that message across. And of course, I really do matter. There's 7 billion people. We've each chosen the other as the one to spend our lives with. And so, of course, we matter. But there's that message every time you say this is important and it isn't heard. There's that message that you don't, because the mind says, well, the pen matters to me and I put it on. So if it mattered to you, you'd do it as well. And that may or may not be the case. There may be a whole host of things. So I thought I'd share this. And there are pitfalls, meaning that there are certain relationships in which this would not be a good approach. In this relationship with my partner and I, this has brought fun, a little bit of business. I mean, it's just fun. It's like, let's collect on our debts for today. It's like, well, I owe you $5 for this. You owe me 3 times you left the pen off. That's $3 for me. And the whole thing becomes more conscious, and it gets registered. And that also changes, meaning if it's more one day or less one day, the amounts go up and down, so it doesn't feel so monotonous and just like endless. And it's not so bad. If I am paid $1 a cap to put on pens up until my old age, life's not so bad. So good luck with this, and let me know if it works for you too.